Our planet holds many secrets. Some are buried deep beneath the ice. Others are hidden in the darkest corners of the ocean. But perhaps one of the most captivating mysteries is not one of nature, but of human imagination and history. It is the story of Atlantis, a magnificent island civilization that, according to legend, vanished beneath the waves in a single terrible day and night. This tale has fascinated explorers, historians, and dreamers for thousands of years. It speaks to a deep-seated human curiosity about what might lie just beyond our sight, a lost paradise that was once home to an advanced and powerful people. This enduring legend continues to fuel our desire to explore the unknown depths of our own past. The fascination with Atlantis stems from its portrayal as a perfect society, a utopia. It was said to be a place of immense wealth, architectural marvels, and technological prowess far beyond its time. The people of Atlantis were described as noble and wise, living in harmony on their beautiful island. This image of a lost golden age is incredibly powerful. It makes us wonder about our own potential and what we might have lost through time. The idea that such a place could exist and then be so completely erased from the world is both a cautionary tale and an inspiring mystery. It challenges our understanding of history and the permanence of our own achievements. The story of Atlantis is more than just a search for a lost city. It is a search for a lost part of ourselves. It represents a longing for a simpler, more noble existence, a world where humanity lived in balance with nature and possessed great wisdom. For many, the quest for Atlantis is not about finding gold or ancient artifacts. Instead, it is about finding proof that such a remarkable civilization could have ever been real. The very possibility that a society could achieve such greatness and then disappear so suddenly serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of life and the immense power of the natural world, a force that we must always respect. This enduring allure has woven the story of Atlantis into the very fabric of our culture. It has appeared in books, films, and countless discussions, each new telling adding another layer to the myth. The tale taps into our innate sense of wonder and our love for a good puzzle. Is it a true account of a historical catastrophe, a moral lesson disguised as a story, or simply a figment of a philosopher's imagination? The mystery itself is what keeps us coming back. It invites us to look at the vast, unexplored map of our world and our history and to ask that most tantalizing of questions: what if it was real? The story of Atlantis, as we know it, comes to us from one primary source. It was the ancient Greek philosopher Plato who first described this wondrous island. He wrote about it around 360 BC in two of his famous dialogues, Timaeus and Critias. In these texts, Plato presents the story as a true historical account, passed down through generations. He tells us that the story originated from Egyptian priests who shared it with an Athenian statesman named Solon. According to Plato, this all happened 9,000 years before his own time. This incredible timescale places Atlantis deep within the mists of prehistory, making it a very, very old story indeed. Plato's description of Atlantis is extraordinarily detailed. He paints a picture of a magnificent island, larger than Libya and Asia combined, located just beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which is what the ancients called the Strait of Gibraltar. The island was a marvel of engineering and natural beauty. It was arranged in concentric rings of land and water, connected by massive canals and bridges. At its heart stood a grand temple dedicated to Poseidon, the Greek god of the sea, who was said to be the island's patron. The temple was said to be covered in silver, with pinnacles of gold, a breathtaking sight for all who saw it. The city itself was a hub of activity. Canals were large enough for ships to sail directly into the inner rings, creating a bustling port in the very center of the capital. The land was incredibly fertile, producing 2 harvests a year and supporting a vast population of people and animals, including elephants. The rulers of Atlantis controlled a mighty empire that stretched across other islands and parts of the continents. They were a formidable military power, with a professional army and a fleet of over 1,000 warships. Plato describes a society that had seemingly mastered its environment and achieved a level of sophistication that was unparalleled in the ancient world. However, Plato's story is also a moral tale. He explains that the people of Atlantis, who were descended from a god and a mortal, were initially noble and virtuous. But as their divine nature became diluted over generations, they grew corrupt. They became filled with greed, arrogance, and a lust for power. Their ambition led them to wage an unjust war against Athens and the rest of the ancient world. It was this moral decay, this hubris, that ultimately led to their downfall. As punishment for their wickedness, the gods sent a cataclysmic event. Violent earthquakes and floods that swallowed the island whole, leaving nothing but an impassable muddy shoal. For centuries, many have believed that Plato's story was more than just a fable. They have searched for tangible evidence, a geographical location that matches his detailed descriptions. One of the most compelling theories connects the legend of Atlantis to the Minoan civilization. The Minoans were a real and highly advanced Bronze Age culture that flourished on the island of Crete and the nearby island of Thera, now known as Santorini. Around 1600 BC, a colossal volcanic eruption occurred on Thera. This eruption was one of the largest in human history, a truly cataclysmic event that would have been felt across the entire region. The eruption on Thera was devastating. It blew the center out of the island, creating the giant caldera or volcanic crater that we see today. It would have triggered enormous tsunamis, waves of immense power that would have crashed against the shores of Crete and other nearby islands, wiping out coastal towns and fleets. The eruption also sent a vast cloud of volcanic ash into the atmosphere, which would have blocked out the sun, caused temperatures to drop, and poisoned agricultural land with its fallout. This single, terrible event is widely believed to have been a major factor in the collapse of the once mighty Minoan civilization. The parallels between the fate of the Minoans and the story of Atlantis are striking. Here we have a real, advanced island civilization that was destroyed by a sudden natural disaster. The timing is different from what Plato wrote, but some scholars suggest that a translation error could account for the discrepancy. Perhaps Plato's source meant 900 years before Solon, not 9,000. Archaeological discoveries at Akrotiri, a Minoan settlement on Santorini preserved under layers of volcanic ash like Pompeii, reveal a sophisticated society with beautiful frescoes and multi-story buildings. This provides a tantalizing real-world candidate for the inspiration behind Plato's legendary island. Other proposed locations for Atlantis have been scattered all across the globe. Some explorers have looked for it near the Bahamas, citing strange underwater rock formations like the Bimini Road. Others have suggested it could be in Spain, near the Doñana National Park, where satellite imagery has shown what some believe are the outlines of a large, ancient city buried in the marshlands. Theories have placed Atlantis everywhere from the cold waters of the North Sea to the coast of South America and even under the ice of Antarctica. Each theory attempts to match Plato's clues with a real place, but so far, none has provided the definitive proof needed to turn myth into history. Despite the passionate searches and intriguing theories, the vast majority of scientists and historians today believe that Atlantis was not a real place. They argue that there is simply no geological or archaeological evidence to support the existence of a large, sunken continent in the Atlantic Ocean or anywhere else. The theory of plate tectonics, our modern understanding of how Earth's crust moves, makes the idea of a huge landmass disappearing overnight geologically impossible. For these experts, the complete absence of any Atlantean artifacts, ruins, or inscriptions, despite centuries of searching, is the most powerful argument against its reality. Furthermore, many scholars view Plato's story not as history, but as a philosophical allegory. Plato was a philosopher, and he often used fictional stories, or myths, to explain his complex ideas about politics, justice, and human nature. In this view, Atlantis was created as a literary device. It served as the perfect example of a powerful but corrupt state, a cautionary tale to contrast with his vision of an ideal society, represented by ancient Athens. The story was a warning to his fellow Greeks about the dangers of imperial ambition, greed, and losing one's moral compass. It was a lesson, not a historical record. The lack of any mention of Atlantis in other ancient texts is also highly suspicious. If a civilization as powerful and influential as Plato described had truly existed and waged war against much of the known world, it seems incredible that no one else would have written about it. Historians like Herodotus, who documented the Persian Wars in great detail, make no mention of this mighty Atlantic empire. The story appears for the first time in Plato's writings and vanishes from the historical record just as quickly, only to be revived much later. For most mainstream academics, the silence of history speaks volumes. And yet, the dream of Atlantis lives on. The question of whether it was real or not almost seems secondary to the power of the story itself. It continues to inspire us because it embodies our deepest hopes and fears. The hope for a lost paradise and the fear of losing everything we have built. The legend encourages us to explore, to question, and to imagine. Whether we are diving into the deep ocean or into the pages of an ancient book, the search for Atlantis is ultimately a journey into the vast and mysterious territory of the human spirit. And perhaps the truth of Atlantis lies not beneath the waves, but within the enduring power of the story to make us wonder.